So yeah, let's dive in. So today we are going to discuss about the vision capability of the GPT models, and we would be building our own AI coding assistant using those APIs. Okay, so what we will be covering today is that we are going to look at the generative AI, like what generative AI is. Then we will be covering some introduction of the GPT-4 vision capabilities. Then we will understand what is the difference between ChatGPT and GPT. There is a misconception this, I will be clearing this out. Then how we can access the OpenAI GPT models. After that, we will be moving into the main part of the AI coding assistant and conclude with the Q&A session. Okay, moving on. Okay, so what is generative AI? So generative AI is a category of AI algorithms which generates the new content by using the already present content or the content on which the model is trained on. So generative AI is there, and nowadays it is on a bloom. So there are many tools, there are many models that are available that are performing the generation part, or they are using the generative AI features. So these are a few examples of some models and tools that are available. So for text generation, we have ChatGPT and Gemini. For image generation, we have DALL-E or Midjourney. Then for video generation, we have Sora. And there is one more model recently launched, GPT-4o, which contains all of these features in it, like a single model that can perform all of these things. So for me, I use ChatGPT and Gemini on daily basis for my tasks that include the taking help in the code generation, paraphrasing content, and those type of stuff. And I would love to know like how you guys use these tools for your use cases. So feel free to post those in the comment section. Okay, so moving on. So now let's understand how generative AI works or what they are on a high level. So first of all, everything starts from unstructured content. So there is tons of data which is available on the web and many other different sources, and there is a lot of data available. So what generative AI models are, they are trained on those unstructured content and a huge amount of content. And for using that, they learn the pattern in those unstructured content. And this unstructured content can be text, images, audios, videos, and all of them. So the process is like this, that first of all, the generative AI model has to get trained. So there is a learning process or the training process that goes in which it ingests all this unstructured data and learns the patterns in those data. And once it has grasped those patterns, it is now capable of generating new content. And that's how they works. So by pattern, I could give you an example like what could be the meaning of pattern. So let's take an example of a word like Harry. So in all of the web content, there could be this word Harry could be coming a lot of times. Then if I ask you that if I am giving all of this content to all of the web content to the model and asking it what would be the next word after Harry. So what would that be? So there are different probabilities, like after Harry, most of the time there could be Potter, there could be Kane, there could be different other names that could be coming after it. So that is what we can call as a pattern, like understanding which word would be coming after the previous word. So in the text case, we can say that this is the pattern which the model has to learn to be able to generate new content. Okay, so now to the introduction of the AI coding assistant. So the application we are going to build is going to assist us in developing code, both using the textual and the image-based inputs. So the reason why we are building an AI coding assistant is because it increased the productivity a lot. So once I get started building an application, it is better to get started with a help rather than getting started from scratch. So it increased the productivity a lot. And I have like practiced it, and I think that it has increased my productivity a lot as I use these tools in my daily tasks. So the technologies we are going to use for building this would be GPT-4o, and this is used for the generation of the code. And then we would have the Streamlit framework that would be for help us in building the application interface. So how many of you have heard about GPT-4o? So if you have heard about it, please add a comment in the chat. And it is a recent launch. Let me take you to this URL. So we have pasted some URLs in the chat box, and you can take the help from there. Like I have shared all the code we are going to create, as well as all the URLs which would be used in the slide there. So this is GPT-4o, which is recently launched on 13th of May. So the great thing about this model is that it has the capability to work with text, audio, image, and video at the same time. Like previously, we had different models, like we have seen a few in the previous slide as well, that for text, we have different GPT models. For image, we have those Midjourney and all that. Then video, we have Sora. But this model, GPT-4o, it has the capability to work on all these type of data at the same time, a single model that could do all of those tasks, which the other models are doing. So I would recommend you to check these demos. These are just amazing demos, and you would really love it. Going back to the slide. Okay, now move from like, before moving forward, I would like to clarify this thing that Chat GPT and GPT are two different things. So Chat GPT is a chat application or a chat bot, which is powered by the GPT models. So it is an application, and GPT is a model. So Chat GPT relies on GPT for the generation of responses, and GPT itself is a large language model, and it is the part which gives it the ability to generate the text, image, or any other content. So we can say that when you go to ChatGPT, you type an input and then press the submit button. So when you are typing the input, that is the part which belongs to the ChatGPT application. But as soon as you click the submit button, then the generation part starts, or it is performed by the GPT models. So today, what we would be using would be these GPT model, or specifically GPT-4o for our use case. That's all. Okay, so to learn about the GPT-4 with vision, so by GPT-4 with vision, we mean that this model is going to allow us to take the image as input. It would have the ability to understand the image, and as well as take the text data and then respond to our queries. So as we have already discussed about the GPT-4o, so we are going to utilize this model, but in a limited capacity, we are only going to use the text and the image part of it. We will not be involving in the audio or video parts. Okay, so as we have discussed the GPT models, so we are going to use GPT models, and how to access GPT models, that's what we are going to see now. So these GPT models are available on OpenAI platform. We have shared a link in the chat as well, so you can go from there, or so this one. So when you will go to platform.openai.com, it would take you to this page. So I am already logged in. If you don't have an account, you can go ahead and create an account by filling the sign up form. And it is very straightforward process, and it is like free of charge. You can sign up free of charge. So when you will sign up, you will see this sidebar over here, which has the documentation, which contains all of the quick starts and different capabilities or different models which are available in OpenAI. You can read through those. As well as you have these API keys, usage, playground, and all these sort of things. So for our case, to access the GPT model, we would need some API keys. So let me go ahead in this tab, API key tab. So API key is something that would give us access to the GPT model. So every time we need to call the GPT model, we would have to pass the API key with it. So for our case, we would need an API key. So let me go ahead and create a new secret right here. And I can create a secret. So this has created a secret key for us, and this is what we are going to use in our demo coming up. Let me copy this and save it somewhere. So I have it. So to follow along, you will need to create an API key like this and save the secret value with you. And when we go to the demo, then we can see how we are going to use that. So creating an API key is just this step that we have created the API key, but it does not add up any billing or any cost yet. So the cost comes up like if you go to the usage tab, you can see the usage of model over here, like how many tokens you have used, how many requests you have made, and all of those things. And that is the basis of the billing. Like the billing would depend on the amount of usage you have done. So now we have the API key, so we are good to go. Let me go back to the slide deck. Okay, so now we have the access to the GPT model. We can use the GPT model as we will. The next thing is that we need to know about Streamlit. So Streamlit is a free and open source framework that helps us in rapidly building some applications, mostly used for machine learning and data science related demos or web apps, some simple web apps. So we are going to utilize Streamlit for our application. Okay, so now we are into the demo part. So right now I'm going to show you two examples of how we can use this AI coding assistants before we go into the code and try those. So let me go ahead and get permission. Okay, right here. So I have the application running with me. So if you see over here in the sidebar, it is asking me to enter the API key. So it is the same API key we just copied in the previous step. I will go ahead, copy this and paste it over here. So now you can see the simple interface of the app. So there is an enter your message here. This is the text input you can give to the model, as well as there is an upload an image option where we will upload the image we want it to process. So this is a simple interface for the app. So the first example we have would be about asking the model to help us in creating a Streamlit application using the uploaded image. So what we are going to do is we will take this image, upload this image on the app, and give it this prompt that help us in creating this Streamlit application, and it would generate all the code which is required for making this interface. So let's demo it. So I will tell it to create a Streamlit application using the reference image provided. And then I will browse the files and take the file which I just showed you on the slide. And press the send. So you can see on the right in the top of the screen that it is running currently. So there's a process which goes on that the image we have uploaded, first of all, it needs to be encoded in a specific format so that GPT can understand it. And then the text and that encoded image goes to the model to be processed. And finally, we get the response. So we have got the response in the form of this code block. So this is the Streamlit application. Now we can test it out. Let me copy this. So Streamlit code is generally Python code. So I would go ahead, create a file. Let's call it sample.py. So it is a Python file. I will paste the code over here. And then once this file is ready to go, so it is a Streamlit application which is generated for us. I will go ahead and create a new terminal and run this. Okay, so over here we are. So the command which we can use to run a Streamlit application is Streamlit run, and then the name of the file which has the end. So our file name is example1.py. So it is there. And before that, we would have Streamlit run and then the name of the file. I would run it. Okay, so it seems that there is some error in the code, and that is something that is expected because sometimes these applications can hallucinate, and we will see in a bit in the prompting like how we can remove these hallucinations. So let me clear it out and let me test it once again. So it is running right now. Let's wait until it's generate the response for us. Okay, so it has generated the response. Let's go to it. Okay, so it has generated the F for us. So if you see that it is following the same layout and the same pattern, so there is a sidebar with the same content as we had in our original image. Then we have a chat box over here, then the option to upload the image and submit or send the request to the API. So it is able to create the same application which we had just provided it the image of. So if you see over here, so what we have done is we have only provided it a line of text that create an app for us and an image of the app which we want to generate, and it was able to generate it for us. Okay, so now we can look at another example. So this time we are giving it a screenshot of a page, and we are asking it to help us in defining the HTML layout from this screenshot. So we are asking it to generate something similar to this so that we can start building on top of it. So let me go ahead to the app again. Chat, and I can ask it to create an HTML page using the reference image. So if you note, we are not prompting it very well. We are just asking it to help us in generating the same image. But if you want, we can add some more details or some more instruction over here. So it generates the response even better. Okay, so it is running right now. So, so let's let it run and we can go and see the prompt which we are using. Okay. So the prompt we are using for this application or the generation of the code is this, that you are a seasoned computer programmer specializing in all languages, frameworks, and tools. And you always prefer to use the newest modern frameworks and all of these instructions. So a few things to note about this prompt is that we are using a role-based prompting over here. We have defined a role for the AI that it needs to work as a computer programmer. So we have done that. We have given it the task that it will need to work on, like as we asked, it will need to create a new code or update our existing code from the application. And then one more thing to note is this pointer. So your answers must only contain code, no other text, just the code. Only include all the code needed for the example. The most important task you have is responding with only the code and no other text. So if you note that uh, this instruction is very redundant, that we are telling it to only include the code and we have told it like 2 or 3 times. So you might think that it is a waste of, like we are wasting the text over here, like we are adding repetition uselessly in the prompt. But the thing is that in prompt engineering, there is a concept that repetition is important. When you have something like there is an instruction that you need the LLM to focus more on or give a lot of importance to it, then we do it through repetition, that we repeat the same thing instruction again and again. So LLM gives it more importance. So, and the reason, like I have practically seen that when we do this, like repetition of instructions, then there is a less chance of hallucination. So if I am asking it to just generate the code and no other text, then because of this repetition in the instruction, the LLM would be able to focus on this part and will only generate the code for us and will not hallucinate and generate something else with it. So this technique really helped in reducing the hallucination. Now let's see if it is generated. Okay, so the code is generated for us for the second example. We can test this out as well. Let me copy this. So this is the HTML code. So I will be creating an HTML file for this. Paste the code generated for us. And the name of the file is example2.html. I can go ahead and open this. So if you see that it is following the same layout as we instructed it, there is a sidebar with the same headings and buttons with the main body and search bar and all of that. So if you see that we have not done a lot of effort in there, we have just given it a text prompt and an image, and it generated this thing for us out of the box. So this could be a starting point for our application. We have this layout, the initial layout, and we can build on top of it and save our time and efforts. So this was it for the demo. Now we can jump into the code and see how it is working exactly. So before starting that, let me tell you a bit about how this is structured. So first of all, we have a folder called test cases. It contains the same test cases, images, prompts, or outputs that we can use to test the application. And then we have these main.py and Streamlit app AI code generator.py. So these two files are the main files. So the main.py file contains all the things which are required for making a call to the GPT models. So all those parts are over here, including the prompts and everything. And the Streamlit app would have the Streamlit application layout and that code's defined in it. So we would be coming to it in a bit. So let me create a new file. Let's call it main.py. 2.py. So what I am going to do right now is I would be coding the logic which is required for calling the GPT model. So first of all, we will need to import OpenAI from OpenAI. So from OpenAI, we are importing the OpenAI, which would be the client that would let us connect with the OpenAI GPT models. After that, I will be importing base 64. And let me go to the documentation over here. So, so I am coming back to the OpenAI platform, and we can go to the doc section of this. And under the capabilities, we have this vision capability over here. So you can find all the description, the quick start, and all of those things in this tab under the vision tab. So you can see that both the GPT-4o and GPT-4 Turbo model support this vision capability. For our use, we would be using GPT-4o for this. And you have the code examples over here, like how you can call the API and make your own custom applications. So let me grab some code from here. So this function is encode image. So whenever we are taking an image as input, we are first encoding that image before sending it to the model. So let me copy this, paste this over. Right. So after this, let me create a new function that's called a generate response. And as we have seen from the interface that we need the user question as well as base 64, as well as the image which is uploaded for us. So we are giving those as arguments over here. After that, we will be creating a client which would let us communicate with the OpenAI platform. And the client would be defined by OpenAI, simply like this. And there would be need of the API key, as I mentioned, that whenever we would be calling these models, we would have to attach the API key with it so that it can authenticate and it can work properly. So I will copy same key again and paste it over. For this, we will have a variable for messages that would contain all our prompts and those type of things. Then there is one more step. We will go to the client.check.completion.create. And this method would be the one which would be communicating to the models. So let me verify that I'm typing it correctly. So it is completions.create. So this method takes the model name. It can be any model, GPT-4 Turbo or GPT-4o, both preferred just fine. After that, it would take the prompts in the form of messages. So we'll be passing those. And finally, it would take the max tokens or how many tokens we want to generate the response on. Then we would be returning this response. We get the return statement from the other side. Right here. So this is the simple function that is required to communicate or talk with the GPT model or let it generate the response for us. So I can see there is one part which is missing, that we have not provided the prompts with it. So let me go there and get the prompts from here. Okay. So now let's see what these prompts are. So as I have already shown you a prompt, that was the system prompt. So generally in prompts, we have roles defined. Like this one is the system prompt, then we have the user prompt. So system prompts are generally there to let the system know like what it has to do and what it would be performing, what its role would be, and all sort of things. And the user prompt would be something like the user query or what user is trying to say to the system. So this is a small thing about these roles. So we have already seen what this prompt is. It is that the model has to act as a seasoned computer programmer and all the other instructions that we have added there to make it work properly. And the user prompt is almost similar, and you can take a look at it. And I would be sharing the complete code repository, or I think it is already there in the comment section. You can access it from there. So now we would need to call this function. So the method is quite simple. You will first define the user question, and I can repeat the same thing. Create an HTML page using reference image. And then we will need an image. So for image, I can say that I will first import the image and enter the path over here of the image I want to use. So in our test cases, we have multiple images, so we can use one of those. So I will be moving into the test cases folder, and under which I will be using the test case2.png file. So now, if you see that generate response needed two arguments, the user question and the base64 image. So we have both of those available now. We can call the generate response method. It will return the response from us. That would be the code. We can print the code in the terminal. So let's start a new terminal. We can do Python, and the name of the file is main2.py. I can type that. Okay, so completion.create got an unexpected keyword argument next token. So it is not next token, it is next tokens. Let's try again. So it could take some time. Okay, so the process is that we are first encoding the image and after that sending it to the model. So it can take some time. So it has generated the HTML code, the same HTML code which was generated by the application which we just showed. So this is how you can call the GPT models, and in our case GPT-4o model, and use it for different capabilities. You can build your own custom applications and all those things. So another file we have is about the Streamlit. So this file uses the Streamlit framework for generating the user interface, just like the one we have in our application. Yes. So if we go through the code, we are simply importing the required modules and functions. After that, if we go to the main function, so there are these parts that we are creating the sidebar of the application. After that, we are creating the chat interface, and then we are creating the buttons for it. So Streamlit is very simple and very easy to understand. So if you see over here, ST, that means Streamlit, streamlit.sidebar.title, and we are naming it settings. So if we go to our interface, this is what is generated by this code. After that, if we go to the next line, it is telling us that st.sidebar.text input. So this line is generating that text box over there. After that, we have the markdown, some text over here. So you can see that this 3 lines of code is generating this complete sidebar for us using the Streamlit. I will move on. So if you see line number 89 and 90, these are the lines that are generating the text box and the file uploader for us. So these 2 lines are responsible for generating these 2 components of our UI. Then we have the send button and clear button defined over here. So we have the send button over here and the clear button over here. So we have already seen that there are some operations attached to these buttons. So whenever these buttons are clicked, we execute these functions. Like when the send button is clicked, we process the message. If the clear button is clicked, we clear the chat history. So let's go to the process message. So in the previous file, we have already seen how we can communicate with the GPT model. So that same thing is happening over here. We are taking the image, we are encoding the image, and then passing the user question or the text input and the encoded image to the model, which generate the response for us. So this is simply how it is working. And I think that is all I have to share about this application. So the code would be available to you as a GitHub repository. So yeah, I think that is all from us, and we can move on to the Q&A session. So if you guys have any question, please feel free to post those in the Q&A section. Okay, so there is a question about the code. So the code would be shared through GitHub. So it would be available to you, and you can already find it in the comment section.